Hello, one and all. This is BMR Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Special edition Saturday. I hope everybody's having a great evening. You know, I was sitting there watching the playoffs of the NFL. I said, you know, I wrote this article. I did some research on this. And it's on the 1994 Michigan UFO sightings. And so it's a little different. What I did was I read a bunch of articles, compiled some data, some facts, and I kind of rewrote it all true to form. All the facts still remain. It's just what I got. So not to plagiarize myself, I had to rewrite this stuff because I compiled the articles, as I said. Thanks for everybody joining on short notice. As I said, I wanted to explore this story. You know, it's not Bigfoot tonight. It's not Dogman. And you know what? If you're like me, you guys like everything. I know most of you in chat pretty well by now. And I do know that you like different things. So this is going to be a little bit different. Again, I'm going to read this. I put it together. I wrote this up. And maybe we can, don't know how long it's going to be, but I think you guys will enjoy it because I think it's really cool, especially here in the state where I live. Again, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch, the Blondes and Booze podcast. The super chat's open. If you're inclined, that's fine. More importantly, just share out the channel and subscribe if not already. So here I'm going to start. In the United States of America, all of the lower 48 have territories, counties, cities, waterways, and forests alike that have been known to be very mysterious. In some cases, quite malevolent, paranormal, and strange. There's perhaps none more haunted and eerie than the state of Michigan. We have all heard of the Bermuda Triangle. I will be willing to bet that many of you have not heard of Michigan's Triangle. It's located on Lake Michigan, which is the largest freshwater lake in the United States. The first side of the triangle covers Ludington to Benton Harbor, Michigan. Completing the triangle covers an expanse of water from Benton Harbor to Manitowoc in the state of Wisconsin. For the purpose of this story, we will focus on the southeastern section that lays a plain directly across the city of Chicago in the state of Illinois. Excuse me, I just lost my spot here. Anyways, blah blah blah. Amongst the shorelines of the Great Lakes that cover the north, south, west, and eastern parts of Michigan is lined with many haunted lighthouses, ghost towns, and even the occasional haunted restaurant or two. Many haunted forests south of Lake Superior in upper Michigan's peninsula claim to be inhabited by evil spirits by many of the land's indigenous or First Nations people. We all remember the mysterious disappearance of the Edmund Fitzgerald, right? It is said that Michigan has many dumps, deep underground military bases that have been kept secret for the biogenetically engineered cryptids known as Dogman and other inhumanoids. Militant creatures set up by so-called black ops operations. Unsolved murders, lake monsters, lost ships, and planes all cover every corner of this state. Moving on, however, perhaps the most enigmatic or popular story dates back to 1994 with the Michigan UFO sightings. An extremely high volume of UFO sightings, over 300, were being called into weather stations across the state just off of Lake Michigan's shoreline. And here's the story. This is a quoted conversation between Jack Bushong of the National Weather Service in Muskegon at Central Dispatch. Quote, this is Jack Bushong at the weather station. And this is being reported into him. And it goes, this is the National Weather Service in Muskegon. I was calling to make sure that the person that called me was not hoaxing me. He was one of our dispatchers rambling on about bright lights in the sky. Now, Central Dispatch says, We have been chasing lights all over out that way. Jack Bushong replies, "What do they look like?" Central Dispatch, "I don't know. We got a report of something with lights on it, and they're horizontally on this. 3 to 4 lights going at a high rate of speed up and down all over the sky." This event and these calls were reported March 8th of 1994. Many ufologists and researchers have claimed this to be one of the most thoroughly researched events, and indeed find this account to be true and accurate according to the findings in the multitude of reports submitted by both civilians and law enforcement that were dispatched to the scene along the Lake Michigan shoreline that ran as far north from Muskegon, Michigan, to some 20 miles south of Holland, Michigan. The majority of these reports describe the objects to be of a cylinder shape or round. Vast colors of reds, greens, blues, and white was the most common description. Many of the witnesses involved almost described them as reminding them of Christmas colors, traveling at extremely high rates of speed, darting both vertically and horizontally over Lake Michigan. Jack Bouchon was working the 4 p.m. to 12 midnight shift when approximately between the hours of 10 p.m. to midnight is when the majority of the calls were phoned in. With the phone ringing off the hook and the conversation with Central Dispatch, this is when Bouchon took over the radar and turned it to manual interface to monitor the areas that had been repeatedly called in to him. Upon navigating the radar, Jack took note that it was a clear sky, no storms, no rain, no commercial or private aircraft had been detected or called in, as well as limited to zero cloud cover. The night was clear with 100% visibility. Then he saw the very first object come into view on radar. It was a round shape that hovered approximately 5,000 feet above ground and was traveling at a speed of over 100 miles per hour. Then the same object started to dart upwards or vertically to heights of 10,000 to 20,000 feet in a matter of seconds. At one point, quotes Jack, the object soared to well over 60,000 feet. With extreme ease and fluidity of the apparent craft moved gracefully and had Mr. Bushong staring in amazement and in awe. Then, again, with Jack in manual control of the radar equipment, what seemed to be an apparent fleet of these cylindrical objects, they appear on radar. They seem to take a formation of what appeared to be that of a triangular shape. The radar picked up these objects as being four abreast of each other, keeping tightly in formation. Okay, they're about 20 feet apart, keeping the triangle shape hovering in the sky. There seemed to be up to 10 or 12 fleets of the hovering craft that began to flood his radar. Again, with four craft compromising the triangular pattern, when all of a sudden the UFOs separated about 20 miles of each other and began their ascension began their ascension upwards to 40,000 feet. Sorry, guys, to 60,000 and again upwards. The speed surpassing again 100 miles an hour when the squadrons all darted to the southern edge of the Michigan Triangle, where they all hovered together. All now tightly bound in formation, they melded together in what appeared to be one giant craft. So now, guys, I guess there's all these UFOs. They were called in, over 300 of them. They're all sporadically. They're darting up and down. They're going north. They're going south. Speeds over 100 miles an hour, and it seems like there's an armada or a fleet. But now, you guys, they seem to get together and form one huge triangular craft. It is important to note that Lake Michigan was covered with over 75% of ice during this time. The spot where these craft were hovering was directly above one of the few spots on the lake that was totally melted. The upward darting into the sky stopped as the armada just seemed to hover above the melted part of the lake. Now down to 5,000 feet. So now these things are up 60,000 feet according to radar, and now they're about 5,000 feet and getting smaller or lower, excuse me. Then the giant blip on the radar vanished from the controls. So we have all this activity, supposedly numerous amounts of UFOs darting up and down and all around at various speeds. They form the big triangle. Now all of a sudden, it vanishes off of radar. Across this 20-mile span that this phenomena took place, after months of investigation, most air traffic controllers, weather hubs, and other specialized scientific outlets confirmed and reported almost identical data. So, across the state of Michigan, at these weather stations and news stations, all this data that's coming in is all adding up identically with some perhaps variations. Most ufologists conclude with the heavy data and the similarities of this night's events do believe that on March 8th in 1994 over Lake Michigan that something otherworldly took place. The sheer speed, angles, and the falling off radar is a technology that we do not know of. That's what they report anyway, because I'm sure our government knows of this. They say it does not even exist within our Navy or Air Force. That I agree with. I mean, if something's darting 60,000 feet in a matter of seconds, taking these angles and these turns, certainly nothing we've seen is certainly something I don't believe we can do. But then again, I'm no expert in military, the Navy, or the Air Force. Who knows? But according to these reports, it's something that we currently, well, back in 1994, could not do. It goes on to say, Bill Konkoleski, director of the Michigan chapter of MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, states that this is the biggest event to ever be investigated by our organization. It is said that MUFON, usually up to 80% of the time, can come to a logical explanation of UFO phenomena. This case, however, up until even today, cannot be explained. This is just one of the many mysteries of Michigan and probably the most noteworthy. If you are into all things strange, mysterious, unexplained, plan a trip and do some investigating, is what something they want to say. In conclusion of this story, the one thing that baffles me the most is the formulation of one giant craft that falls off of radar over the melted part of Lake Michigan. See, that's the funny thing. At this point in Michigan, 75% of Lake Michigan in 1994 was covered in ice. But when these things disappear, these craft, these UFOs, the giant triangle, however you want to determine, it went down into the melted area. It kind of disappeared into the lake. So I don't know about that. Is there something in Lake Michigan? During the entire story, we heard about the darting upwards on many different altitudes at high rates of speed and it just vanishes. I myself find that odd. Early on, I wrote about the deep underground military bases that we do have here in Michigan, which is not speculation, but that is fact. The question is there a reason why this section of the lake melted? Could this be an actual dumb, deep underground base? If these weren't our craft, were they alien? I don't have the answer to that. But I tell you this, that is food for thought, you guys. And what I'm thinking about on this story, I was reading somewhere where 40% of well, if you break it down, 40% of things that we do see at night, a lot of our intelligence says that that's our craft. But what about the other 60%? I don't know. You guys think this was a from 1994? Those of you that were around or kids or whatever, do you remember that story? I do remember it. I think I was in my early 20s. I just found it fascinating. I thought it would be something cool to do live for you guys. Um, I don't know. What do you think? You can leave a comment. Thank you, Gene Hudson, Val, Pammy, Straw Dog. Who else did I see out there in chat earlier? Midwest Night Watchers, Crystal, Chiro, Glenn. Who else? Susan, Crystal, the other Crystal. There's two Crystals, and all the rest of you guys. Thanks for joining. I just wanted to get on and air that story. I didn't feel like doing a video because I always put out the Sasquatch videos and Dogman videos. I decided to be cool just to do it live and talk to you guys a little bit. I know how y'all like to gather together and chit chat. But what do you guys think? At the end of the video or end of this live, why don't you go ahead and leave your comments when you get a chance. Share it out. Val says that many in one big formation don't think it's ours. Yes, absolutely. I would agree with that. Straw Dog, the UP has copper mines. There's a lot of salt and gypsum mines in Michigan. Most of you in chat seem to think it wasn't ours and something alien. Um, yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the story. As I said, I just wanted to put it out there for you guys, something to do here on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. I'm going to get back to the game. Thanks for tuning in briefly for me. I hope you enjoyed it. And next Tuesday, we got a great show on Beyond BMR coming up. It's about some hauntings, and then I think I've got Bigfoot Society coming on the show later on in the week. The guy who's got a bunch of Bigfoot encounters, so that should be some cool stuff for you guys to check out. I appreciate you taking your time, albeit about 20 minutes or so, but that's great. Good to see you all. Love you all. Again, subscribe and share me out. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and your Saturday. It's Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Enjoy the rest of the day. Love you all. Bye bye.